Gardening is the ultimate game of patience. You spent all spring prepping soil, planting, weeding, nurturing, doing whatever it takes to get these small seedlings to take and grow. And you don't really get anything back, at least for a month or so, until you start to fill the freezers. Also, this year, we took on more than just a garden and we took on meat birds for the first time, which is also an ultimate game of patience until they hit the freezers. So, let's show you guys how the freezers are filling up so far on the homestead. We started off this week by processing and butchering our meat birds. I opted not to show that process, but here is us the next day getting them in bags, weighing them, and getting them in the freezer. I opted to use these little colored tags that you will see mostly at rummage sales to weigh my chickens, and depending on their weightage, depended on what color sticker they got. That way, when I am looking in the freezer, I can tell just by a really quick visual what their poundage is. That way, it's going to help me plan meals, know which one I want to use for larger meals, smaller meals, soups, braised chickens, things like that. This was a huge step in our goal to being more self sufficient. This is my husband and my's first time doing this completely alone. We did it just the two of us. We have very minimal experience. And by very minimal experience, I mean my husband and I both did this once or twice as very young children, like 10 maybe. So it's been a very long time since my husband and I have done this. And I would say by like the fourth chicken, we really got into a groove. We knew what we were doing. It wasn't really a scary process. Uh, and I think we worked really well as a team together. And it took us just about 3 hours to butcher 20 chickens. Now, remember, it's our first time. We didn't really know what we were doing. So we were definitely a little slow. And I think over time, we'll definitely be able to pick up the pace. But overall, it was a really great experience. I do see us doing it again. And I'm very happy that moving into this winter, we have 20 whole chickens in the freezer, which came out. Our chickens averaged about 7.5 pounds, which is smaller than what we were hoping. I was hoping for maybe closer to like 8 to 9 pounds. But overall, for our first time doing this, I'm not mad about it at all. And I think we did a pretty good job. Moving forward, we do have some things that we would like to do differently when it comes to the chickens, but like I said, the first time you do anything, it should be more about learning and understanding the process. And that's definitely what these meat birds were for us. I do plan on doing a video on a total cost breakdown on how much it cost us to do the meat birds, equipment included, and all of those things, because I'm sure people will have questions on that. But so far, we're absolutely loving it. And we ended up filling an entire chest freezer pretty much with all of these chickens. So you'll get a better view here on their tags and their color coding system. I also got a call from my in-laws this week letting me know that our local Amish store had their blueberries. We live in northeastern Wisconsin, but we're relatively close to the Michigan border. That being said, we get Michigan blueberries here that are absolutely delicious. They're fantastic. Uh, and this is the first year that I actually went ahead and picked up some Michigan blueberries to get in the freezer for uh, the upcoming year ahead. We are participating in a summer pantry challenge here in this house, and one of my goals was to shop local. So it was really exciting that I was able to go down and I got 20 pounds of Michigan blueberries. Plus, my in laws gave me 5-ish pounds of their box. I also went and picked up a couple of cherries that the kids just ended up eating fresh. But all I'm doing here is giving these a good rinse and picking through them. Normally, I wouldn't have even done this, but these blueberries ended up sitting out on my counter for a couple of days. And I knew that there were going to be some bad ones, that ended up molding because I just did not get to them as quickly as I needed to. Life was very busy. So I went ahead and rinsed them, picked out the bad ones, let them dry, and then came back and packaged them. If you watched my Sam's Club haul for this month, I found that Sam's Club has these half-gallon freezer Ziploc bags. I ended up purchasing them. I thought they would be really good for preservation for this summer, and I used them for the first time on these blueberries. I really, really like them. So I ended up packaging 8 half-gallon bags of these blueberries. Some people would go off of weight, some people would go off of cups. I did not do that. I just filled the bag up as much as I could fill it, squeezed the air out, made sure that the seal was sealed well, and I threw these right into my chest freezer. I did leave I think it ended up being like 6 or 7 cups of blueberries out because I did make jam with this later in the week. I was very excited about this because we've never preserved blueberries before. So this is a new step forward in preservation and meeting locally sourced food for my family, which are all really big goals that we have moving forward. Those are things that we're really trying to head toward. But also, I've never canned blueberry jam before, so it was a new product on our shelf. It gives us a little bit of variety, which is really fun. And this is how I like to build resilient food storage is by canning a couple new products every year, doing a smaller batch of them. Like I said, I only set aside maybe, 7, 8 cups of these blueberries for this jam, but it ends up making it so that you have a lot of variety on your pantry shelf, which helps with not getting bored eating the same things all of the time. So, like I said, we ended up getting 8 bags of those blueberries headed for the freezer. Typically, I like to have 12 bags of everything because that would give my family 1 bag every month for an entire year. So, that being said, I obviously am going to run out, assuming we're going to use 1 bag a month. That means I could either buy some more, get more in the freezer, or just buy some from the grocery store once we run out of these ones. I also went ahead and did a double batch of hamburger buns. Made 1 batch for dinner tonight. Here is that recipe if you're looking for that. You just go ahead and bake them at 350 until they are golden brown.
Husband just got back from town. He has my jars that I needed. I'm making some jello for the kids really quick just to have for snacks for the next couple of days. We put them in these little 4-ounce jars from Amazon. They come with tops. They're really nice. Absolutely love them. We make our own pudding cups out of these as well. However, today doing jello, I measured out and washed all of my berries while he was running errands, so I have everything set up and ready to go. So once I get my jello off the stove here, I'm going to start making jam. We're doing a double batch of blueberry, 1.5 times batch of blackberry jam, and maybe possibly just one batch of raspberry jam. I'm 1 cup of raspberry short though, so I might send kids out to pick berries so that I can do a batch of that as well. But I am just going to start with my blackberries and my blueberries, and then maybe I'll end up saving the raspberries and do a batch of raspberry jam tomorrow, because once we pick tonight, I should have enough to make a batch of raspberry jam.
Let's talk a little bit more about resilient food storage. Resilient food storage to me is having a really nice baseline of products, but having a little bit of variety amongst that baseline of products. So for me, jam is a baseline product for our household. We go through a lot of it. By variety, I really want to make sure that we have a little bit of spice of life, okay? Especially when the goal is self sufficiency, meaning I want to have some raspberry jam, I want to have some blueberry jam, I want to have some jellies just to mix it up a little bit. That way, it gives you variety. It makes you feel like you're not eating the same thing all of the time. And it just helps you get through those long winter months. But we use this jam in a lot more than just like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We put it in yogurt, we put it in baked goods, we use it in so many different forms and fashions. So making sure that we have a good variety is really important. Some of the kids' favorite way to use the jam is with cinnamon rolls, but instead of, the cinnamon, we put a layer of cream cheese and then a layer of our jam of choice, roll it up and bake it like you would a cinnamon roll. It's absolutely delicious. They're fantastic. So, a little bit of spice of life is really great. I also love being able to can multiple different jams at once because they all water bath can for the same amount of time. So I can kind of get a lot of variety on my shelf in a short amount of time in one canning session, which is one of my favorite things to do. We also really had to get the fall garden in. This year, the fall garden is ridiculously simple. We're only doing broccoli and another batch of green beans. I'm putting these in the raised beds even though the deer are massacring them. I did get some cover to put over this raised bed, so I'm kind of throwing a Hail Mary pass and hoping that by covering it, the deer will leave it alone. I've had good success with that in the past, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, that is a-okay. I will just order it from either a local farm or Azure Standard to meet the needs of my family for the year. And there, that is that. I also had some blight going on my tomatoes, which is not a surprise to me because I don't have my tomatoes trellised or up in any form of fashion. They are running wild this year. And I think that that might be the case for the entire year, which doesn't really bother me. But in making that decision, I also have to understand that my tomatoes are going to get some disease on them. So, blight is this yellowing on the leaves here. And because my tomatoes are all kind of intermingled together, they're planted really close. Once that tomato that has that disease touches another tomato plant, it's just going to spread and it's going to go all down the line. So, I only had blight in this really small area here. So, I went ahead and picked all of those off, made sure that the rest of my tomatoes were looking good. And then I had my husband come and weed whack around the garden. We've been letting the grass grow because we're in a really bad drought. So if we cut it, it's just going to fry the grass and it's all going to die. But number two is the fact that we leave it long, for long stretches of time, especially here in the orchard, because it's really great for beneficial bugs. It also is really great just for like pollinators and the bees and stuff. We have so many flowers that pop up in here naturally and milkweed and stuff. So we really try to only cut the orchard, a couple times a summer because it's really great. And then the chickens come through and they eat all the bad bugs and things like that. The chickens and the ducks take care of pest control for us. But I wanted to get the weeds down, at least around the garden, to get some more airflow coming through because that's where blight comes from. It's from the heat and the humidity, which we've had a lot of here over the last couple of weeks. And there's just not a lot of airflow getting through to kind of like let those plants breathe. So by picking the blight off, getting rid of the weeds around the garden, that'll help with that issue. The best thing to do would be to pull them up, trellis them up, get them in a cage, but uh, I'm probably not doing that this year, and I am okay with that. But the garden's looking fantastic. My cucumbers are looking better than they ever have. My brassicas have really shot up over the last little bit. A little bit of bug damage happening on my brassicas, but that is the name of the game when you don't have them under insect netting or anything like that. And a little bit of bug damage really does not bother me a whole heck of a lot. We're getting really close to canning cabbage roll soup. I do plan on filming that for you guys. That is another way I go ahead and build resilient food storage is I try new recipes every once in a while. Uh, things I'm obviously not going to go through, a whole batch of cabbage roll soup in a year, but I can it once. I have it for a couple of years on my shelf. And then next year I can can a different kind of meal in a jar type of a thing. And it helps build my food storage up without having to do all of the projects every single year. Blackberries and black raspberries are coming in like crazy. Obviously, we canned a big batch of jam today, but we are still doing all of the canning, all of the fresh eating, and we've actually been gifting some of our fresh berries away to friends and family, which has been fantastic. So that is a big look on what we were able to do on the homestead over the last couple of days by filling the freezer, building resilient food storage. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I will see you guys in another one.